player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And that I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could feel you were strong enough to pick up the whole room. I wanted to pitch it, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show. I am Xavier Houston, and I am sitting in this morning running the show as Martin is out on assignment. And we will be breaking down some of the things that have happened over the weekend. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. I hope everybody was able to enjoy the holidays and be able to spend time with family. And I hope everybody remembers the reason for the season, and that is Jesus Christ's birth and what he was able to do for us. But as we get ready to get started, I'm joined by Aiden. Aiden, did you have a good Christmas, man?
Yeah, man, great Christmas. Is the first one we got to spend with our young daughter. So, you know, she's very young, so she enjoyed the colors and everything that were around her. I don't think she really knew too much of what was going on, but it was just nice to spend some time with family, relax a little.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. And just wait till she can start asking for some stuff, and then we will.
That's when my life
really
is over,
get some
right?
Good times.
Once she can ask for things, that's when it's all downhill.
Oh yeah, definitely when they can start asking. But man, I'm glad you had a good holidays. We're gonna break down some more recruiting stuff since we didn't get too much into it last week, as we were off last Friday and yesterday, as well as Alabama has arrived in New Orleans, and New Orleans has been a love-hate relationship for Alabama. It seems to be when they're playing for national championships. It's a great place to be. When it hasn't been for national championships, Alabama's had a tough time down there. But also that what the impact that of Will and Bryce playing will be this weekend. But to start it off, man, we got some news about some former Alabama quarterbacks around the league, and some good, some bad, and some ugly. Well, starting off, we're going to hit up the guy that starts it all for Alabama, Jalen Hurts. He was able to, excuse me, he was able to, or he missed this game against the Cowboys, and the Eagles lost for just the second time this year. And I wonder how people are feeling about his opportunities to win the MVP. He misses a game, they lose after being on such a hot streak, even after they lost to the Redskins. The Commanders still got to get used to that new nickname, Aiden. I know that's your team, but is it still hard to call them the Commanders?
I try my best to use the new name in professional settings, but if you get me going really talking about them, I'm gonna drop the old moniker in there just out of habit.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, remember that you can join in on this conversation as well. And you can join in on the Alabama hotline at 205-342-9904. We'd love to hear your opinions on these topics. But back to Jalen, he misses the game. They lose. And I don't know how many people feel about him in the Heisman race, the MVP race. but I think this is a big step in the direction that maybe you do need them. They had 4 turnovers, in their 2 games that they've lost. They've had a lot of turnovers, but Gardner Minshew played good, but not good enough with the mistakes that were made. I think he was responsible for 3 of the 4 turnovers, and it just kind of led to Dallas being able to stay in the game and eventually win the game. And I think that's a big reason why you got to look at what Jalen has been able to do. And yeah, it's a team sport and everything like that. People act like that's something new when it comes to Jalen, but we saw that this team did not play as well when he is not in the game offensively and defensively. And so I think that shows a little bit of his impact. Um, do you have any thoughts or opinions on Jalen for MVP, or is it
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, which everybody seems to think it is?
Well, and that's just it. Is I didn't think it was Patrick Mahomes going into this game. I think I'm taking kind of the opposite take of you here, X. I thought it was Jalen coming into this game, but Gardner Minshew wasn't really the reason the Eagles lost. Like, yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but you know, I 34 points isn't the reason you lost. It's the giving up 40 part. So I mean, that offense was still humming and going with the backup quarterback in there. So I think Jalen missing time and there not being a drastic drop off in offensive production is kind of a chink in his MVP case, if we're being honest, because I know he's a special player. I'm never going to try to take any bit of that away from him. I'm a big Jalen fan, but clearly the system around him is also a large part of why they're having the success that they're having. It can be both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I think it's both.
No, I mean, I definitely think the system and the players around them are helping, but we've never counted that against anybody else. Nobody counted it against Patrick Mahomes when he had uh, Kelsey and Hill and all those guys. I mean, so I think that's a little bit of a cop out. And they did put up 34 points, but then you're also looking at the simple fact that Minshew essentially that first fumble, the second fumble was all Miles Sanders not holding on to the ball, but that first fumble was a bad placement of the handoff and things of that nature. And you're talking about, I think it was 27 points came off of those turnovers. 20 of those were off of, I'm sorry, 24 of those points came off of turnovers. And 17 of those were responsible for Minshew. And so you're looking at a 34 to, what's that, a 23 game if it wasn't for those turnovers. So while, yes, they still put
That's
up
more than fair.
34, the other, 17 points off of Minshew's turnovers, they win that game.
Yeah, and you're right, and you're right about that. As long as the Eagles can take care of the ball, there's not a lot of games they're not going to win. I mean, you look at the 2 losses, and this is getting a little bit away from Jalen, but you look at the 2 losses to Dallas and Washington. Both of those losses, they were underwater in the turnover differential. I think those are the only 2 times this season they have been.
Yeah, and that's just my opinion. I think Jalen has an opportunity to still win it because of that. I think missing a game in general hurts him just because from the pure numbers standpoint, if he was able to go out and play and put up 275 and 3 touchdowns, he's still in the conversation. So I think that's what hurts him more than anything.
No, you're right. The box score journalists see 300 yards less because he missed 1 game.
Exactly. And then you look at moving over to Tua. Man, he's in the concussion protocol for the 3rd time this season. I don't see any way how they can clear him again to play this year, and you hate it for him. All the talent in the world was having a breakout season, and then you just keep having these little injuries and these bumps in the road that, is how you want to call it, that are affecting him and his career and what that could be. And man, I mean, 3 concussions in a year is scary. when you see the way that everybody talks about sports now and football, especially with concussions and all the things that can lead down the road, CT and all that. But I don't think you can play Tua again if this is truly a third concussion.
I hope not. I hope they make the decision to, despite only needing one more win to be in the playoffs, go ahead and sit him for the season. Like, honestly, it's a little bit on Miami for not getting a confident enough backup quarterback that you feel like it, because you put all these weapons around Tua, you should have somebody else on the roster that you feel confident in plugging in and being able to get the ball to Tyreek and Waddle. That should be, you should have anybody that can do that. Tua makes it a special system, but you should have a backup that you feel like you can lean on so you don't have to rush him back from these injuries so much. This is only the second time he's been in protocol, but everybody knows he had a concussion against Buffalo. Like, that's not hard to figure out.
Yes.
And then he had the one 5 days later, the really scary hit where he's in the fencing pose on live television, getting taken off the field in an ambulance, and he's playing football again just 2 weeks later. Like I get it. He says he's fine. The medical professionals cleared him and everything, but you don't think they rushed him back a little bit because they were losing games with the backup?
Oh, I definitely think he's been rushed back twice this year. But that's the thing, man. As a competitor, I can't blame Tua for wanting to play. I think that's his heart that wants to play. But sometimes, as an athlete, other people have to step in to protect yourself because you're always going to want to push your body and go to the next level and keep going. So I think that's what they're going to have to do. I think they're going to have to make a decision for him,
Yeah,
to protect him.
No, you're right. As a competitor, that's one of the things we love about Tua is that he wants to be out there. He doesn't care, and he's going to risk it all for his team. That's one of the things everyone loves about him. But it's your obligation as the organization that is putting him on the field to step in and say, no, we're looking out for you.
Exactly. But then you look at that's my thoughts on Tua and his situation, that it might be time just to sit him for the year. But then you look at Mac Jones and what's been going on with him. Do you believe that Mac is a dirty player, or is this just one of those situations where, I don't know, maybe he was trying to stop a guy from making a tackle, whatever, or get out of and block, and he undercuts a guy. Now, this is the third or fourth time in his 2 years where we've seen him do something like this. Is it partially him just trying to go out there and be competitive and that nature of it, or is Mac a dirty guy? Because these instances look bad. I saw a compilation on Twitter this weekend, and it didn't look good.
I'm not going to call him 2010s Ndamukong Suh yet, but he might have a little bit of that dog in him. I also think he might truly just be woefully uncoordinated, and he goes to try to make one move in one of these game breaking type situations and just flounders. I don't know. It looks like he's stumbling around, a little bit, but it also does look like he's certainly putting himself in position to have these accusations levied against him.
Oh yeah, and I think the whole situation with him is just kind of getting to him at this point. When you look at, he was a Pro Bowler as a rookie with Josh McDaniels, and then you come in and you give him a guy, Matt Patricia, who hasn't coached offense since 2005. So you're talking about 17 years in between him being an offensive coach that just been strictly defense and DC, a head coach, all that. And now you're calling offensive plays on top of the weapons that he has around him. He's got two guys that were flops as first rounders at their previous stops. And then Jacoby Myers is an undrafted wide receiver who didn't catch a touchdown until his third year in the league. And that's who his go-to guys are. And then Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, in my opinion, have been underwhelming as these big tight end signings. And maybe that's what Bill O'Brien ends up. There's reports that he's going to announce this week or at the beginning of next week that he's not going to be back. So maybe Bill O'Brien can fix things for Mac Jones. Was a great play caller for Tom Brady, and not comparing Mac to Tom Brady, but that is the type of quarterback that he is. And so maybe a guy that has experience calling plays for this similar quarterback can come back and fix those things for him. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this segment up and get ready to go into the second quarter. This is the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Remember, you can call in on the Alabama One hotline on 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a wreck and the road is closed at this time. If you see developments, please give me a call, 205-886-8886. It's after Christmas sale time at Townsend Nissan. Santa had to go, but the deals stayed on. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Smooth skin begins with hydrating ingredients. Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion nourishes your skin with all-day hydration for deeply moisturized results that give you confidence like buttery soft shoulders like and visibly smooth skin like. Quench your skin with nourishing moisture from Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion. Try Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash too and get skin your face will envy.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Did you know not washing your hands after using the bathroom can increase the spread of hepatitis A? Washing your hands with soap and water, as well as getting vaccinated, is the best way to protect yourself if you are at risk of getting hepatitis A. One dose of the hepatitis A vaccine provides long-lasting protection in up to 95% of those who receive it. For more information on the hepatitis A outbreak in our state, visit alabamapublichealth.gov/IMM. Sponsored by the Alabama Department of Public Health and this station.
Clouds will break up this morning, giving way to mostly sunny conditions for your Tuesday. Look for a cool afternoon high near 48. Mostly clear tonight, the overnight low near 29. Then for your Wednesday, sunny and warmer. Look for a daytime high in the upper 50s. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
It's 25 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. I'm Xavier. As Martin is out on time today, I'll be running the show. And as we move into the next quarter, we're going to be breaking down some more recruiting. We talked a lot about the overall class last Thursday as Alabama was able to finish up with the number one class in the country, as well as adding Desmond Ricks on Thursday. So that is another big get, another 5-star that gives Alabama 7 consensus 5 stars along the recruiting services. But we're going to break down the positions a little bit more. We talked about the quarterbacks on Friday and how Holstein, and Lonergan are the 2 quarterbacks signed. Now we are moving over to the running back room as Alabama adds consensus 5-star Justice Haynes and 5-star by many recruiting services, Richard Young at the running back position. And I think these are 2 very explosive, very exciting guys that are similar in play style. And I think they add a little bit of that flash to the running back room guys, in my opinion, that can end up being very similar to a Jameer Gibbs when it comes to size. They might have been a little bit bigger than him at the end of the day. Both guys standing right now at 5'11", 200 pounds. And man, I don't know about you, Aiden, but I've seen some videos of Justice Haynes working out, and that kid is a monster in the weight room for his size. But he's a Georgia legacy that Alabama was able to steal away from Georgia, as well as Richard Young being in the backfield of Florida, Miami, Florida State, and able to pull him out of the state of Florida up to Alabama. And a lot of Florida guys have had success at the University of Alabama, whether that be running back, wide receiver, safety, corner, it doesn't matter. A lot of these guys end up being very successful during their times here at Alabama. When you look at these 2 guys, man, what are your thoughts and what do you think that they bring to this Alabama football team?
So forgive me if I'm getting them flip-flopped here on their play styles, but I think I saw the same video of Justice Haynes working out that you did. Homeboy is just a beast on the squat rack. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a guy that used to play for the Commanders back in the day, in Alfred Morris, where he's kind of a shorter guy, but like he's not going to go down on first contact. Like borderline as tough as Derrick Henry to tackle because he can squat up to like 600 pounds or something crazy like that. That's kind of who Haynes reminds me of. And then you combine that with the one-cut burst speed that Richard Young has, and these 2 are going to be an unstoppable duo during their time in Tuscaloosa.
Man, Richard Young reminds me a lot of Kenyon Drake in just that his play style. Because it's one cut and he is north and south.
You
and
let
it
him
is
plant that
explosive.
foot, he is gone.
Oh, without a doubt, man. This guy is special. They're both special, man. And I think that Alabama is getting a lot. It's going to be interesting to see how Alabama gets these guys on the field next year if they're both able to compete and contribute. Justice is already here, practicing with the team, so he's got a head start on it. So I think that's going to be really key for him. I'm not sure when Richard arrives, if he's going to be still be a spring enrollee or if he's going to be here once the summer gets here. But I think that's going to play a big part into which one of these guys has the best opportunity to get on the field.
I think
Now, granted, Alabama always has a couple guys that show up in the summer that show out and end up getting on the field. But at the running back position, that spring ball is really important, in my opinion, coming out of high school to get out there early.
Just kind of get used to the pace of play a little bit, just.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the pace of play is the biggest thing. And, Alabama, you got to be able to pass block and things of that nature. So I think that's the biggest concern for Alabama. How can these guys do in that aspect, and how will they be able to adjust just to the speed of the game? I mean, it could be something really exciting to see with those those 2 guys.
Well, I think
and,
you're gonna.
Go ahead.
I think you're going to see them quite a bit, no matter what, in whatever capacity they find them in, because we're looking at a situation where we're either starting, quarterback that's on the roster right now in Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson, who maybe we don't have the most confidence in, or we're starting a freshman quarterback in Eli Holstein or Dylan Lonergan. Either one of those sounds like a recipe where we're leaning on the running backs a lot next season.
Yeah, man. I look at it back when you look at the 2016-2017 teams, when you've got the young quarterback, even with Jalen being in his second year, you had a lot of guys that were being used in the backfield: Bo Scarborough, Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris. I mean, a lot of depth. Brian Robinson was the fifth guy getting the
Buried on that depth
30
chart.
minutes of the game. So, loaded running back room. And I think Alabama can have a little bit of that as well when you're looking at Jace, if he comes back, Roy Dale. And this all depends on if
Don't forget
Jameer leaves,
Jamarian
which
Miller's in
I
there
believe
too.
he is. Yeah, oh yeah, Miller, man, yeah, who I think is going to end up being the power back, the short yardage guy.
He's gonna be a stud.
Yeah, because I don't know, like we talked about it last week. I don't know how good Roy Dale can be in those situations. If he's your third down back, your short yardage back, you might have a little bit of a problem. So I think that's where Miller can probably carve out a niche this year. Of course, I'd like to see one of these guys, if not potentially both of them, in the return game as well. Justice Haynes is very explosive in that sense. Had a couple kickoff returns for touchdowns in high school. You're going to be replacing Gibbs in that sense. So, hey, maybe we see one of those guys get on the field early in that manner. So, I think his running back room is really loaded.
I think that role might be filled by one Malik Benson we got coming in, fastest JUCO player in the country. He's a lightning bolt.
Yeah, I mean, Saban is known to play starters on special teams, and notice what I'm saying. I think Benson is going to be one of the starting three wide receivers, just because I don't know how you're going to be able to keep him off the field. He's going to be older. He's going to be a junior, so this is a guy in the same class as Ja'Cory Brooks as far as age. Just had to take a detour because of the type of system he played in high school. But I mean, I think this guy would have been one of the top wide receivers in the country coming out of high school if he had been in the correct type of system. But moving over to wide receivers, as we're talking about Malik Benson, yeah, he's the number one JUCO player in the country. He set the JUCO record as a freshman with, I think it was over 28 yards a catch. So this is a guy that's really explosive, going to be able to take the top off. Now the question is, who's going to be the quarterback? Who's going to be able to get it to him? But I think he's the wide receiver that we definitely see on the field next year. But then you look at some of the other guys, and we'll throw Ty Lockwood, the tight end, with this group as well. Three guys that are very similar in builds and skill set, and Malik Benson, Jalen Hale, and Jaron Hamilton. They all stand about 6'1", of about 190 pounds. Two coming out of high school, of course. Benson being the JUCO guy. I think that all three of these guys are a little bit different play style, but still very similar as a whole. And then, of course, you got Cole Adams, who's the going to be the slot guy for sure. Standing about 5'10", about $180. A more explosive Slade Bolden, just for an easy comparison.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Has the potential to be a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type guy. And, I think he can be a really good slot guy. He's got a guy that has potential in the return game as well. Watching some of his highlights, really quick, really good at the side-to-side game. Not going to beat you over the top a lot, but is going to be able to make you miss in tight, close quarter areas. I think that's where his specialty is going to be, getting that third down conversion, that short game that you might be able to break and turn into something. But outside of Benson, which one of these guys are you excited to see the most?
Give me just a second, because there was a guy and his name's not coming to me. It's on the tip of my tongue. I need to go back.
Is it Hamilton?
No, it's not Hamilton. It's the kid. Jaron Hamilton. Yes, the kid out of Florida. Yeah, no, I'm stoked on him. Watching a little bit of his film, he reminds me a lot of Ryan Williams, the kid down at Saraland that I got to see play against Hillcrest, who was just such a firecracker and fun to watch. Jaron Hamilton, yeah, no, that dude, he can get open just beating you with straight up speed over the top. He can get open by hitting you with double move. He can get open by just running a route better than you can defend it. Dude's gonna be a special player, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Hale. When you look at Hale's body type, and I'm not saying he has this type of speed or anything, but just his body type, the smoothness of his running, he reminds me a lot of Jameson Williams, and just the ability to make people miss in open space and run by people at the high school level. So I'm interested to see how that's going to translate into the college game. And then, of course, you cannot forget the tight end, Ty Lockwood. What is he going to be able to do? I think he's one of these guys that, he's 6'5", 225 right now. Easily can be 245, 250. A big body guy that's going to be able to dominate the middle. I think Cameron Latou is a solid comparison about what he can eventually be once he gets in the weight room, gets that size on. Not a take the top off like a OJ Howard, maybe not as refined as a route runner as a Irv Smith, but a guy that has good hands, can always get open and be able to make plays in those 10 to 15 yard range. But of course, Alabama's going to find out today if they get Maryland transfer tight end CJ Dippery, who had a pretty good career with another Tagovailoa while he was at Maryland with his younger brother Talia. So that's going to be interesting to see if he lands with Alabama or if he lands with Ohio State. I haven't seen any projections of where he's going to go, but hey, that'd be another big get. He's a guy that's already got that college body at about 240. So I think he's going to be a good add to the room as well if we get him. But of course, Ty Lockwood coming into a very young, talented, but unproven tight end room with Amari Niblack, Robbie Oots, who's more of the H-back fullback, Miles Kitselman, who's more of the inline, old school type, and then, of course, Elijah Brown and Danny Lewis, who Brown probably is more of a Irv Smith type, body type, things of that nature. And then you look at Lewis, he reminds you more of a Cameron Latou, the bigger body as well. But all these guys will be back. Only juniors, freshmen, sophomores, redshirt freshmen. So it's a crowded room, but a lot of talent that just hasn't proven itself. But we'll get back on the other side. Remember, you can join in on the Alabama One Hotline at 205-342-9904.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. 27 class of 2023 prospects officially signed with the Crimson Tide on Wednesday. Former Alabama quarterback Paul Tyson is transferring to Clemson. The Alabama men's basketball team beat Jackson State 84-64 to secure its 10th win on the season.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 Traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, just spoke with the Alabama State Troopers. Alabama 69 is still closed at Tears Patton Road because overturned lumber truck lost its load right there in the intersection. So you'll need to seek an alternate route. If you see conditions, give me a call. Santa had to go, but the deals are still there at Townsend Nissan. After Christmas savings are yours. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard, right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
People here are raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option. But then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summoned super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 205-686-1941. That's 205-686-1941. 205-686-1941.
For everything your business needs to make this year your year, Staples has you covered.
I need to organize all my papers and files from last year and the year before that.
Staples has you covered.
I need a new desk calendar so that I don't miss a meeting with my boss or a soccer game with my daughter.
Staples has you covered with everything you need to get organized this year. Right now, a 2023 lined desk calendar is $3.99 and an unlined calendar is just $4.99. Make this year your year at Staples. Offer ends 12/31. In-store only.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. On this lovely Tuesday after Christmas. Once again, I hope everybody had a great Christmas. Remember, you can join the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama hotline at 205-342-9904. So as we're discussing this recruiting class, as we're moving into the second half, it is time to focus on the big uglies up front, where Alabama signed 5 offensive linemen, and where 5 of these guys are sitting and listed as tackles and only one as an inside guy. It'd be interesting to see where all these guys end up across the board as their careers progress at Alabama. We have Miles McVay and Wilkin Formby already on campus helping Alabama prepare for the Sugar Bowl against Kansas State. But, of course, the jewel of the class on the offensive line is Caden Proctor, the big offensive lineman from Iowa who committed last week to join this class, standing at 6'7", 330 pounds. Man, Aiden, I saw this guy in person on his visit right before signing day. This guy is a massive, massive human being and he's one truly what you call a big, ugly. And from the film I've seen, he is a dancing bear. The way this guy can move, really athletic, and I think is going to be a key contributor to Alabama this year. You know, we've seen Nick Saban take a lot of these guys that were 5-star tackles, stick them at guard for a year to get them experience, and then bump them out to tackle when you see a guy graduate, whether that's Evan Neal moving out to tackle when you had Jedrick Wills leave. Yeah, Alex Leatherwood moving out to tackle when you had Jonah Williams leave. And I think he's a guy that can end up being the same way, man. I mean, just absolutely special athlete at that position. What's your thoughts on Big Caden Proctor?
I mean, he's going to be a beast. There's no two ways about that. What'll be really nice is, he comes in and immediately he's getting his coaching from Eric Wolford. He's not going to have, this year of poor coaching and transition like JC Latham had to deal with. Like some of these other recent offensive line commits have had to deal with. And he's got a great class coming in with him to, make it so that he's not required to be like the only guy on that line. He's got teammates that can back him up of similar talent levels, him and everybody else. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to be a great anchor for this line at left or right tackle for potentially all 3 years, but he'll probably start at guard, like you said, but I think he's going to be a 3-year starter here at Alabama, and he's going to be awesome to watch.
It's going to be very interesting to see what Alabama does with him and how they get him on the field, because I believe he's a guy that you got to get on the field early. And then, of course, as you were talking about some of the guys he's coming in with, Wilkin Formby from right here in Tuscaloosa out of Northridge High School. A guy that I think is going to be a great pass protector and a very good run blocker. Just with his skill set, another guy standing 6'7", who's now over 300 pounds. Very athletic for his size and can move and bend with the best of them. Which sometimes for these bigger guys in high school, it can be a little bit of a challenge from the simple fact that some of these defensive ends are actually wide receivers, running backs that play at smaller schools that are out of position. So, once you get a guy that, is coming at you that's 6'5", that you can really get your hands on, it ends up being an easier transition or an easier life of blocking those type of guys, as long as you have the technique and the footwork and things of that nature. Versus a 6'1", 180-pound defensive end in high school.
And I saw Wilkins struggle with those kind of wide receivers lined up at D end a little bit when they played Hueytown, not Bessemer City, but Hueytown. Bessemer City, I saw him stick one hand in the chest of two different players and not even break a sweat. It was incredible to watch. But when he played Hueytown and he had those kind of, wide out types just kind of hit him with the footwork and the cuts and the speed, he did struggle a little bit. He held his own, but it was definitely a challenge for him.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, man. You've got, don't get me wrong, you'll have some extremely athletic defensive ends at the college level, especially in the SEC, outside linebackers. But once again, he's going to be going up against some of the best guys in the country in practice. Whether if he's running with the ones, the twos, or the threes. When you look at Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner, you sign a guy like a Keon Keeley, Quay Rousseau. I mean, there's a lot of athleticism on those edges here at Alabama. But I'm telling you, man, I would rather grab a guy if I'm 6'7", that's 6'4", 6'5", than having to get real down low on some of the smaller guys.
He doesn't have to bend over to, get his footwork going. And that's what the struggle was really. It's trying to do the footwork to keep up with those guys, which he can do. He's light on his feet. The dancing bear thing, like you said, Wilkins got a little bit of that going, maybe not as much as Proctor, but he's got to bend over while trying to reach them that whole time. Nah, get out of here with that.
Oh, yeah. And then you look at a guy like Olaus Aileen out of Connecticut, but for high school, but the big Swede, another guy standing. I mean, this offensive line class is massive. Wilkin being the smallest guy at 305, 310. But, Aileen is coming in at 6'6", 315. We got Miles McVeigh out of Illinois coming in 6'6", 358. I think he's a guy that you can slim down a little bit or you bump inside the guard and just let him maul people. And then, of course, Raquez McElderry that is a load at 6'3", 340 that is going to be a very good guard. Managing that weight, getting in the Alabama program, and just this offensive line class. Alabama has signed the number one offensive line class before, a couple of years ago, and that class has been a little bit of a disappointment. You having Tommy Brockemeyer transferring out. The only guy we've really seen on the field so far is J.C. Latham, who was very productive for Alabama. Overcoming, as we were talking about, that bad year of coaching. But, hey, he's a guy that you can lock in at right tackle, or if you feel comfortable enough, you can move him over to left tackle. And I really think that depends on what Proctor and some of these other guys, a guy like Elijah Pritchett, who in my mind, every time I look at him, I see a young Tyron Smith of the Dallas Cowboys with the way he's built. Man, the guy's 300 pounds, but looks like he doesn't weigh more than 270. So I think this offensive line class can be very special for Alabama and be a big part of where Alabama gets back to that nasty, that mean football that hits you in the mouth at the point of attack up under Eric Wolford, who I think is a big get. I don't think we get Proctor without him. I don't think we get Wilkin Formby without him, because a lot of people don't know. Wilkin was leaning toward Kentucky before Wolford came to Alabama, so I think it's a big get for Alabama with just him coming in and changing the culture along that offensive line and with his coaching style.
Yeah, I got to see Wolford interacting with Formby a little bit at a Northridge game this year, and I had a chance to chat with Coach Wolford too. He's a great person, and he really cares about establishing a positive relationship with the kids that he's recruiting. And that was evident in his interactions with Wilkin. And I don't think they got a lot of that from Doug Marrone, not a lot of positivity, which in recent years has been something Saban's been huge on. He doesn't like being the guy that's losing his mind on the sideline at people as much as he did when he was in his 50s and 60s. He's kind of mellowed out a little bit. He wants to have a positive, healthy relationship with his kids, and he wants his assistants to be the same way.
Oh, yeah. So, I really believe what Wolford's doing with this class that we have coming in is going to be a tempo change and a tempo setter for what this Alabama team does moving forward, especially because we're talking about Alabama's going to have a young quarterback most likely, whether that's Milroe, whether that's Simpson, Holstein, or Lonergan. So we're going to have to be able to run the ball and be able to run the ball successfully when we need to. And that's something that the last couple of Alabama teams have struggled with a little bit. We put ourselves in bad situations. The RPO, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's a great addition to football and what you're able to do with it. But there's too many times in the past that this offensive line hasn't been able to be as aggressive because of the RPO. So I think you the right coordinator, whether that's O'Brien coming back and changing his philosophy a little bit, or a new guy with this offensive line and offensive line coach, I think you really see Alabama move forward in that sense. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up this third quarter. As we move into the fourth quarter, we will be breaking down Alabama in NOLA to face Kansas State and how big of an impact that Bryce and Will are having in playing in this game and what it means not only to them, but what it means to Alabama football moving forward. Remember, you can join us on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, just spoke with the Alabama State Troopers. Alabama 69 is still closed at Tears Patton Road because an overturned lumber truck lost its load right there in the intersection. So you'll need to seek an alternate route. If you see conditions, give me a call. Santa had to go, but the deals are still there at Townsend Nissan. After Christmas savings are yours. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning. Many residents across West Alabama and the state are waking up without water. Busted frozen pipes in businesses and in homes, drained water tanks in numerous locations across the state, including West Alabama. In Hale County yesterday, the Sawyerville Volunteer Fire Department gave out bottled water to residents of Sawyerville and Akron. With warmer temperatures today, water authorities are hoping to find and repair the leaks and refill water tanks. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. I'm Don Hartley.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow trucks, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard, aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help you do just that. They have numerous, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing, LLC.
So I switched to Boost Mobile and got this free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone.
Why do you think they call it the Galaxy?
Maybe because the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a huge screen, and galaxies are huge gravitationally bound systems of stars rotating around a supermassive black hole.
And the phone is free?
When you switch to Boost.
Cool. You lost me at gravitationally bound.
Switch to Boost to get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. Limited time offer while supplies last. New customers only. Excludes tax. One device offer per line. Only available on certain networks. 5G not available everywhere. Additional restrictions apply. See local Boost Mobile store for details.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back to the Martin Show. I'm Xavier sitting in this morning as an assignment. And we're going to wrap things up on this beautiful Tuesday morning, breaking down Alabama being in New Orleans, getting ready to play Kansas State, and what it means to Alabama and what it means to Will Anderson and Bryce Young individually to have come back and played in this game against the Kansas State Wildcats. And I think it's one of those situations, man. These guys have a desire to go out on top, and I think it's a character thing, really, with these two guys. I mean, the way these guys were